Hello, folks. Sorry I'm running so late this evening. We normally try to start at 8 o'clock, but I got sort of buried with numerous clients, and here I am. Better late than never. So welcome to the show. You got me tonight, and then Jerry Wise is going to weeks on December the 11th, and on December the 25th there's a little holiday going on that day. Hey Soren, hey Sarah, hey Kimberly. So we won't have obviously a show on Christmas, but we'll work something out during the holidays to have some kind of hey Tawana, some kind of connection during the holidays here. Okay, I'm looking for my hide chat. I don't want to hide chat. Okay, got it. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Oh shoot. Oh, there's the comments. Yay. Got it. I look refreshed. You know, I sort of am refreshed. I had been really struggling with some things. I'm glad you like the festive lighting. Hi, Dave Murray. I like it when people say, "What's up?" This is actually my normal lighting for my office. So I'm in Indianapolis, at the Indianapolis office, and we go back to the beach next week. It's snowing here. I don't know what the weather. Jackie, Denise, Smooth and Chunky. I don't know what the weather is like where you're at, but it's like snowing here. Okay, so I do actually have some things to present. I've got a list of 25 things that I want to share, and then I have a poem to read. It's snowing in North Carolina too. Renda is doing well. She went to Alabama, had to come back to Indiana she's studying for her licensing test. And then she went back to Alabama. So I've just got my wife back after 6 days in Alabama, and so she's sort of getting back on track. But it's, death is a hard thing when you lose your family member like that. So it's been difficult. So yeah, I will. Brenda, she's getting a LSW. Licensed social worker, and she needs to take that. Okay, so I see a question. Do you have any tips for insomnia related to PTSD? I'm probably a bad one to ask, Sharon. So I'll just keep it real with you guys. I was so shaken and so destroyed. All those, 3.5, almost 4 years ago, that I actually need to do. I'm actually beginning to phase out of Ambien, but what I did for insomnia is I took Ambien, and you know what? I was guaranteed to be asleep in 15 minutes every time. I don't know if it's something you want to be on for 3.5 years, but I didn't suffer insomnia. I might have suffered some side effects of Ambien, but it was such a good feeling for me when I had so little control that I could at least control when I fell asleep. So I'm not recommending that. Somebody from Berlin, Lee Lu Fraun, Marissa says try magnesium. Yeah, I had a real scary moment. I had a real scary moment early in my shattering where I couldn't sleep, and then I took an antihistamine and it kept me awake all night. And it was a thunderstorm, and I was a little kid. It was really super. It was really super traumatizing. Kimberly Blair, she agrees. Sometimes super traumatized folks just need to be knocked out. And so the last couple of days, I've gotten away from the Ambien, and I've been waking up feeling more refreshed. So we'll see how that is. So meditation is always a great option before you sleep. Soren says he struggles with insomnia because the damn thoughts won't go away. So I have a sort of like a presentation. What happened was, and please don't be offended if I don't respond to your question or comments. Just keep talking to each other, and if there's some questions, we can go back and get them. I do take melatonin as well, by the way. So, but I have what happened was my first appointment of the day is a man that I've worked with off and on for. Jerry Wise is in the house. Merry Christmas, Jerry Wise. Jerry's going to be with us next time. Jerry's been out in Arizona. Wasn't it Arizona where he rented a fancy Bentley, I think. So good to see you, Jerry. So my first client of the day is a gentleman who has cancer. And sessions with him have been every 2 weeks in between his chemotherapy treatments. And he says he's writing a book about the experience of cancer. And he said he was going to call the book The Thief. By the way, Jerry rented a Bentley Flying Spur. If you're driving a Bentley Flying Spur, even for a little bit, life has shined upon you, and you are a blessed person. Doesn't that just sound like a really magical vehicle to be driving around in? So I got to thinking that complex PTSD is a thief too. Complex PTSD is a thief, not in the sense that we're victimized, because we know we're not victimized in relationships. But complex PTSD is brutal. It has so many symptoms. And these people that write books and say, hey, listen to my modules or read my book and I'll be supercalifragilistic counts sheep or wants to try something besides that. There's just what I found out that is these people that say you can heal complex PTSD, you cannot. You really can't. You can learn to contain it. You can learn to live with it. You can learn to thrive. But it's a condition that you'll have the rest of your life. You're welcome, Dave Murray. It's our joy to make these videos. It really is. Kimberly says complex PTSD robbed me most as an innocent child. I think I experienced my first complex PTSD as an infant. I know that. So, I listed 25 things, and I've been really struggling lately. I've been in a lot of pain. I've had a lot of anxiety, and you've noticed I haven't been making very many videos because I just don't make videos to make videos. I wait until it's the right time, and this was a time where I was bad. Sometimes it's a battle just to sort of, survive. It's a battle to make it through the day. Um, so these are the 25 things that I felt like my complex PTSD has sort of robbed me of. And hi, U.S. mail. I'm going to mention you as I'm prone to do. Um, I just share them as an encouragement that uh, you can get better, but it's okay if you're not getting better, because this thing is, calling it complex PTSD, really is it's very complex. So Jen Clark, thank you for your kind words, and I am glad that these videos help people and bless people. It's the cool thing is we record them, and stuff that we recorded 3 years ago is still blessing people. So I'm going to just go through this list. I won't be interacting with you much, and I'll come back and get questions. So, you know what complex PTSD takes from you is, for me, it makes my body regress. Of course, I'm 59 years old. I think I'm pretty sure if I was 29 years old, I hope that the damage psychologically or physically wouldn't be as bad. Last year for Thanksgiving, we played football, and I was in good shape and had been playing basketball and had been working out, and I felt strong. And in the family Thanksgiving football game filled with turkey, I scored the winning touchdown, and I actually had 2 or 3 touchdowns, and so I did good. But this year, this year, I didn't do so good, because I'm not a year later, being in a bad place with my PTSD. I was a shell of the receiver I was. So my future daughter-in-law, MK, my son's getting married in November, and I was guarding her, and when I play football, I give somebody a little smack, little check to slow them down a little bit. And I ran up to my daughter-in-law to give her the little smack, and I just can't smack my future daughter-in-law. So I let her go by me, and she got a touchdown. They threw the ball long. She got a touchdown. She's celebrating in the end zone. And I'm like, dude, I just didn't want to hurt you. I just didn't want to knock you to the ground. Then we had the family basketball game, and again, I was just shell of myself. So your body can regress. Your creativity can regress. You certainly, and this is something, how many of you suffer from brain fogginess? It can really make your brain lose focus. I've always had, as a therapist, a lot of swagger. If I get a new marriage counseling couple, I do sort of walk in the room knowing I'm going to slay them, and that they'll be blown away, and that they'll come back. It's not arrogance, it's just I know that I can do that. But when complex PTSD has a hold of you, you're just not yourself. You don't have your human powers, your superpowers. Sarah says that she has brain fog and ulcerative colitis. Yuck. And fibromyalgia brain fog, says Jen. Jerry suggests that the Complex PTS workbook by somebody named Swartz is a good book. So check that out. Even if you have a really solid sense of self, if your complex PTSD is kicking your butt, you're not going to have a really solid sense of yourself. I remember when I was early in my shattering, I came back from the treatment center 3.5 years ago, and I came to our old office at Family Tree. It was bigger than this office, and it was really nice. And I was like, I'd been away from being the leader of Family Tree for so long. I'm like, you guys have a really nice office. And then somebody says, dude, you own it. And I was like, oh. But it's such a punch in the gut, a punch in the face, that it really can keep you from being yourself. Number 6 is just a tremendous loss of energy. I was to the place where, again, like early on in my Annie asked, were you aware that you had complex PTSD prior to my shattering? I wasn't aware. I had it as an infant, and I had small tastes of it as an adult, but I didn't even know what complex PTSD was prior to my shattering. So, but early on in the process, I'd see 2 clients, TX Sweet P G JG is new. Welcome, new person, to our wonderful group. So yeah, I was struggling from loss of energy. I was having panic attacks. For me, it takes away from my social energy. I'm an introvert, and I don't have very much social energy to begin with. But having complex PTSD, to me, it makes you want to isolate. And so here it was Thanksgiving week, and I had all my kids in town and a couple of their significant others, and Sweet Pea. Welcome to Sweet Pea. Amen. And I adore my children, and I like doing fun things, but it was really hard to drum up the energy to just be social. Rocket Man is also new to the church for the narcissistically abused. Having complex PTSD will bring up a marital issue or two, and my wife Brenda and I, we're continuing to do the work. And me like A says hello to you. So it's hard. I worked with 2 couples today that had just ripped each other to shreds, and I said, that's the deal, dudes. You know, you want to get better, you want to get healthy, you got to feel this pain and do the work even though you're getting ripped up. Soren says when he's socially isolated, he just wants to sit in his room, watch movies, read books, play video games. But once he gets out and he leaves his room, it's hard to leave his room when you're in a bad space. That's true. It's so true. So true. So one of the distinctive parts of my PTSD is my hand shook, and I pretty much hadn't had that for most of the last 3.5 years. That came back. When you're struggling with who you are and having a strong sense of self, you're sort of lost in the moment. When my sense of self is strong, I always know what to do at the right time. I don't really need to do a lot of thinking about it. I just do it. But if you're crushed by your PTSD and you're having a sense of lostness, you're like, what do I do next? There's hopelessness. This condition, it can take somebody who's been to heaven and back in terms of recovery and still knock you to the canvas. I went with my son to see the movie Creed. It's sort of another Rocky movie, and it was the same formula as Rocky, and old Rocky with his hat on, goofy hat on. He was talking about his fight with the Russian, the scary Russian, who was a beast. And he said, that fight, that man, hurt me in ways that I've never healed from. So is being a fighter worth it? And the words, he hurt me in ways that I've never healed. And Rocky's fight with this big Russian fella, it was 30 years previous. And that's sort of how I feel is, even though you work your butt off in your recovery process, you can still have recurring bouts of great suffering. Jerry has written, PTSD is found to occur in approximately 1 of 10 individuals affected by a traumatic event. On average, 60% of men and 50% of women experience a tragic event in their lifetimes. Of the 8%, men are found to develop PTSD, and 20% of women develop PTSD. So, the scary thing about this neurological disease, this brain disease, this relationship disease, this depression, this anxiety, this lack of energy, all wrapped up that we call complex PTSD, it can even, if you're not feeling a strong sense of self and you don't have a lot of direction and enthusiasm. One of my favorite poets, David White, he met with a friend once when he was struggling, and the guy said, what you really need is wholeheartedness. And it's such a joy to do things with your whole heart. But I'm telling you what, if you're suffering with complex PTSD, you're lucky to do it with 10% of your heart. And you're just survive until the next day. And then you're surviving to the next day. And you may not be genuinely suicidal, but the thoughts will cross your mind. It's like when you're suffering that much, you think about it. I would never do it, but when you're in that much pain, you think about it. You have a blurry vision of what the future can be. Tawana says it sure is hard to develop a sense of self when you have complex PTSD. Michelle Judd is saying hi all the way from Australia, and she says she's been suicidal a lot this year. Soren, Mark, I feel this almost every day. Just a really intense orientation of ambivalence toward everything in life. It's awful. It really is awful, Soren, and I'm new to it. Even with my initial shattering, I didn't really have a loss of direction, and I didn't really have the suicidal thought stuff. But when you're so broken, it's like, what is meaningful? And for me, it was making these videos. It was such a passion and a joy to do it. But then basically, I sort of got rebroken, and had lost meaning in now. Don't get me wrong, I love making videos, and I'm going to make hundreds and hundreds more, and Jerry's going to make more, and Rendo make more. But for a while, it's like you're stuck and you're broken. Annie said that she's had a really difficult year, and she's working on staying hopeful. Okay, so there's fake smiles, fake I'm okay, and the thing about me is, if I'm not okay, I'm going to tell you, because I think you can learn more from my mistakes than from my successes, because we've already had people share their struggles. So it's okay to have regression with your PTSD. There's a lot of things that can bring it on. I think for me, it was working a lot. It was marital conflict, and it was adjust. I had a antidepressant that I was adjusting to, that was difficult. So it's like you get to a place with your PTSD that you can't manufacture a fake smile. You just have what you have. Jerry says there are many symptoms and experience to PTSD. The basic for avoidance, re-experiencing, hyper-arousal, or negative thoughts. We could go through and debate which one's worse. They're all horrific. Emily G. says that she's in the midst of regression of PTSD, and when she just entered a room, it's very hard. Okay. Thanks, Semper. When you're crushed by your PTSD, you're going to underperform financially, either by not making as much or not being able to manage very well what you did make. I was working with a fellow today, and you know, he mentioned he was always really organized, but then with this PTSD, it's so crushing. It makes you so disorganized. And we folk who grew up with who grew up with out of control parents, we want to be organized. We don't want to feel out of control. We want to be in control, which means being organized and everything's in its place. But this thing will chop you up and knock you down, and organizing yourself is very difficult. Of course, having anxiety, having pain in your chest. When you get in this place, there's a sense of it's you're not focusing on gratitude. When you're doing well in your recovery, you're full of gratitude. When you're happy in life, you're full of gratitude. When you're struggling with your PTSD, you're full of fear. everything is terrifying, everything is heavy. Soren says it's just a hazy ambivalence that lightly dusts everything. He says he has moments of passion, but they go away quickly, and I just have to have faith that my initial feelings were correct, though it sometimes, changes. Michelle, she was born from chaos. Jerry says the symptoms may be similar for complex PTSD, but the cause is different. PTSD is a major traumatic event. Complex PTSD is chronic trauma over time. I think most of us, didn't just get off with PTSD. As awful as it is, I think we experience a lifetime of trauma that began in our childhood. Tiffany says, disorganized? Yeah. My house looks like the inside of my brain. Oh my God. My house looks like the inside of my brain. I love that. Well said. Like someone tipped it upside down and shook it. That's what her house looks like. That's what her brain looks like. We're laughing with you, not at you there. That was very, yeah. Emily, it is called complex PTSD recovery, but it really is a lifetime of trauma. I am on number 21. I've always been a leader and a good somebody who can inspire people, but when you're crushed to a scared little boy with shaking hands who can barely shoot a basketball, it's hard to stand up and be a prophet. It's hard to stand up and be a leader. It will eat away at your leadership abilities. But then you get back to taking care of yourself. And it's like today's been such a wonderful day because I feel like me again. And when you're getting killed by your complex PTSD, you just never feel like yourself. Rocket Man says, now I know how to describe what happened to myself before being crushed by PTSD. Everything was spick and span. Remember that term, spick and span? My wife will detest to this. She says that complex PTSD, it makes you no fun. It makes you somebody that's just not very fun. So, and it, number 23, it really limits your potential. Life is about developing your potential and sort of overcoming. Emily says, do you have opinions on PTSD with depression? I think depression is a big part of PTSD, but I think a lot of what people go in to see their family doctor, they probably a lot of times have complex PTSD and not depression. And they do much better seeing a therapist than getting on medication. So, number 25, the only really nice part of my recent scrape with complex PTSD is I lost my appetite. And then I lost about 15 pounds. But then I got better. My appetite came back, and most of the weight did too. And this is one I repeated, but I guess I wanted to say it twice, is it's okay to be authentic. You don't have to, if you're an introvert and it takes a lot of energy to be on, you don't have to be on all the time. You can be low energy, you can be down, you don't have to be your best. That's what I'm sort of working on, is with my clients, is to still do good work, but to really pace myself and to take good care of myself and not do it with too much intensity. So, Ocean Sound says it sounds like a roller coaster ride with PTSD. It's not always. There are seasons in time when, if you're meditating, if you're exercising, if you haven't been recently re-traumatized, if you have lots of support, if you're praying, if you're doing yoga, if you're going to therapy, if you're doing all the things that work for you, then it's really not a roller coaster ride. It's more of a ski lift up a mountain, you know. But as soon as you stop doing the things, and then if you get even minorly re-traumatized, then I tell you, it comes back with a vengeance. It comes back with a different kind of pain, and in some levels a worse kind of pain. Okay, so that's what I had to say about the thief. Complex PTSD is somebody that something that steals from us and presents a great challenge to our potential, into our home, into our happiness. Sweet Pea says, my voice, tone, and mannerisms are comforting. Well, I'm glad. I feel sort of comforting tonight. It's like sometimes you sort of come out of the darkness, come out of the cave, and you can say, hey, here's where I've been, and here's what I learned. And I want to sort of bless you with something that you learn in the darkness, in the sadness, in the quietness. Emily said, I told someone that I was scared my epitaph would say she had so much potential. I am going to shift gears on you here, and I'm going to read you a poem. Some of you have heard this poem. If you've watched all my videos, I think I did one on poetry and included this one. But it's a poem from my childhood, and it's a poem describing my mother. And you know, it's the holiday season, and when I think of the holiday season, I think of fudge. My mom was crazy, and she was mean, and she was a borderline, and her abandonment about killed me, but she could make her some fudge. She was good at making fudge. And so I wrote this from the perspective of my wounded little boy. And so if you have heard it, then, you know, enjoy it again. And if you hadn't, here goes. But it's called Wudge, because when I was a little fella, I couldn't say fudge. I called it Wudge. So here we go. She bounces around the kitchen. I'm backing up. Let me start. It starts with, I'm little. I'm little again. She bounces around the kitchen, all bubbly joy and smiles, light on her feet, a twinkle in her eye. Doris Day regales and brightens my tiny senses. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. That's my mom would play. The magical aroma of boiling liquid fudge dominates and warms our safe place. It was Wudge to my little self, by far the most wonderful smell of my childhood. What a perfect blend, soft, sweet, chocolate, bettered by crunchy, salty pecans. It tasted heavenly. It was nurturing, addictive, fake, motherly love. And I would gobble it up until I was sick. I longed for more touch from my sweet, angry, too busy, scary mother, but I gleefully consumed that which she did offer. The special treat filled in what I needed, and ultimately, of course, it was not nearly enough. Wudge is cool, but it can't take the place of love. I am little still. Anyway, Kimberly's crying her eyes out. Dave's crying his eyes out. All right, I'm gonna do the poem again because sometimes you have to hear it again. I'm little. You know, we're all little. We're just masquerading in grown-up bodies. You know that, right? I'm little again. She bounces around the kitchen, all bubbly joy, and smiles, light on her feet, a twinkle in her eye. Some narcissists, they have an alter ego. They have a good side. And my mom, I wrote this many years ago. My mother's alter ego, her good alter ego, was Doris Day. And she played that song, my mother sang it. The magical aroma of boiling liquid fudge dominates and warms our safe place. It was Wudge, to my little self, by far the most wonderful smell of my childhood. What a perfect blend, soft, sweet chocolate, bettered by crunchy, salty pecans. It tasted heavenly. It was nurturing, addictive, fake motherly love, and I would gobble it up until I was sick. I longed for more touch. Human beings need to be touched. I hadn't seen Renda for 6 days because she was in Alabama, and I was missing touch, so I got a last-second massage yesterday. It's human to hunger for touch. I long for more touch from my angry, too busy, ultimately dangerous mother, but I gleefully consumed that which she offered. The special treat filled in what I needed, and ultimately, it was not enough. All my family has struggled with food addiction because we equated love to food. And if you got good food, you felt loved. But it really wasn't love. Love is somebody listening to you, somebody giving time for you, somebody who doesn't hurt you, somebody who takes good care of you. That's love. I am little still. Marissa says, we're little still, and then we grow up and trauma bond with others. It sort of sucks, doesn't it? It's true. Michelle says, love is gentle and kind and would never harm the other person. Kimberly says, food and love often become joined together. Okay, so that's what I had to present tonight. Soren's crying too. Hugs to all y'all who are crying. You know why you're crying? I'm glad it feels good. Is y'all are resonated with my abandoned little boy who, settled for a false joy supplied by Doris Day and a false love provided by the Wudge. But that was some good Wudge, though, I tell you what. Thank you, Dave. Tiffany wants to give Soren a hug. Hi, Marlene. Michelle says that she feels understood. Jackie's back. I'm back. So, life is scary. I'm sneaking up on 60 years old, and I've known how to be a young man. I'm not sure I like being this old man. I ain't ready to be old. Kimberly says, I'm crying because my mother always made good fudge, always. She was drunk, but she made good fudge. Supercalifragilistic says, no wonder I used to cry at 30-second Hallmark commercials. I could never figure that out. Because you have a wounded little kid inside you, and those 30-second Hallmark commercials are made to make you cry. If you'll cry, you'll go buy their cards. So I'll sort of turn the show over to y'all. By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen my magic wand. I have like toys to play with, and I haven't played with this in a long time, but I was noticing it today. So sometimes I'm busy working and I get it and it's all sparkly on the inside, and I just enjoy it. So y'all are on if you have questions, if you have comments, if you like my magic wand, whatever you want to say. We've got some time. We've only been going for 47 minutes. So a fairy dust wand. Yeah. Bang. I pronounce you healed from complex PTSD. If only. Sweet Pea says she hated picking out Mother's Day cards. I never found the "my mom's a total bitch" section in the card department. It was always saying how wonderful your mother was. Okay, this is my Wizard of Oz wand. Rocket Man says that he needs a magic wand to get rid of a bully at work. Yeah. Sarah just triggered herself because she was eating a tangerine, which she associates as a Christmas spell. Renda actually has a wand that she uses in a treatment. I should know this, but I'm spacing. But she has a treatment that's similar to EMDR, and she uses her wand and gets rapid eye contact and, does really wonderful healing work with people. Jen, so you teach us to reparent ourselves and speak and act kindly to that wounded little child inside. My borderline mother also sang "Que sera, sera." Jen, that's exactly it. We have to reparent ourselves and learn to speak and act kindly to that wounded little kid on the inside. If you put a cuss word in it, it's been editing. So I'm unediting some of the cuss words. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm getting tired. Kimberly, I noticed how connected it was to my holiday grief. Lisa Marie. My infant sister, who died of crib death when she was 10, her name was Lisa Marie. I suffer from a chronic illness since age 4. I have complex PTSD. I isolate myself because I always have to depend on myself, and it gets hard, and my disease doesn't give me a break. There's no holidays. In fact, the holidays are harder because you want to isolate, but you got to suck it up and go to Christmas dinner. You don't have to, but if there's family there who love you, then it's worth it. And I'd have to say I'm very grateful. I just had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. My kids were home, and we did all the stuff that we enjoy: eating food, watching the Dallas Cowboys win, playing football, playing basketball, going to the movies, playing double-deck big euchre, and I had really good, deep, heart-to-heart talks with several of my kids. That's the thing about the complex PTSD. I felt like I was walking around not being authentic with my family, and my son is 28 years old, and he's solid. You know, he's a solid guy. And I felt like I could sort of lean into him. And I dropped him off, drove off, and then I drove back and texted him, said, "Can you come out and sit in my car?" And I was authentic with my struggles. I didn't need anything from him. I just wanted to be authentic in the family system. And it felt friggin' wonderful. It felt really good. Dave wants me to congratulate myself. I will do that. I will congratulate myself on some progress toward feeling better. It's wonderful when you get back to your program and you exercise, you do meditation, you get a massage, and then you drop by the chiropractor's office like I did all in the last couple of days. You start feeling better, and you sleep better. So, yeah, are you guys able to really be authentic with your kids? You're not dumping your stuff on them. I wasn't doing that. I just it was just really really wonderful to connect. I feel a real bond with him now, so it's very cool. Lisa Marie, I'm fairly new to your channel, and I heard you speak about your baby sister. Much love and respect. Did you know her name was Lisa Marie? Lisa Marie's anniversary of her death was November 15th, and this coming next November 15th will be the 50-year anniversary of me losing my little 10-year-old sister. Oh, we can just have silence here until y'all come up with it. Somebody got a question or a comment? Do 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 do. Emily says, "I don't have children yet, and I'm healing so I can be more the mother I didn't have for myself." Bravo, bravo. Marissa says 2 of my kids she can't be authentic with, and one son accepts the broken me. So that was what I showed my son. Is I was able to show him the broken me, and that's a good feeling, to be uncomfortable enough in your skin that you're comfortable in your skin. Kimberly's noticing that I'm not. Sorry, Lisa Marie, for putting you in tears. She asked me if I had any snacking. I snacked on about a 2-year-old Atkins bar, and I took one bite of it, and then it was nasty, so I threw it away. And then I switched to some. I'm sorry, I got oil in my eyes earlier, and now my eyes are irritated. I got about 6-month-old smoked almonds, and those were nasty too, but it did fill me up. So that was my snack. Jackie asked if I ever felt like not doing Christmas. It's interesting. Ever since 1989, I don't think there was a family tree Christmas party in '89, because I started the practice in September, and by December it was still just me. But ever since 1990, there's been a fancy family tree Christmas party every single year for the last 28 years, 27 years, 26 years, if I do the math right. And this year, in the middle of my complex PTSD regression, and with Renda's sister dying, I sat down the staff and I said, I don't really feel like doing Christmas this year. And they were like, dude, we understand. We know what you're going through. And so what we're going to do, instead of having it at my house and you got to do all this work, we're just going to have it at the office. We're not inviting significant others. And I think I'm going to cook a turkey. And but they said, dude, we always have fun at the parties. We got to have a party, but let's make it easy on you. And they're bringing stuff. So yeah, Jackie, when you're struggling and when you're sad, then a lot of times you won't have the energy for Christmas. One of my clients, who's just wonderful, she is going on a cruise this Christmas. She hosted Thanksgiving, but bought everything from a grocery store as a package deal. And during Christmas, she's going on a cruise. Yeah. Yeah, most of it, Jackie, is going to be catered, but I have a hankering to cook a turkey. So, Emily says, I take my recovery seriously. Emotional sobriety is critical. A broken heart kills people. People with broken hearts slowly kill themselves as well. Lisa Marie, you've helped me so much over these past months. And you had a complete nervous breakdown, and listening to you helped me a lot. I'm helping Lisa Marie. That's cool. Soren says, how do we push ahead in the face of ambivalence? That is a brilliant question. How do we push ahead in the face of ambivalence. It takes a lot of bravery, and my bravery is ephemeral at best. Sometimes I look down at my tattoo, and you won't be able to read this because it's backward, but it says courage. And I look down and I'm like, I ain't got no courage. I used to have me some courage. I used to have a lot of bravery. So to answer your question, Soren, what I'm doing is putting one foot in front of another, dragging myself out of bed, switching my medication, getting off some, and exercising. I'm looking forward to getting back to my hot tub, doing massage, doing meditation, and talking about your pain, taking off your mask, knowing that it's okay that you're broken, knowing that you're not a bad person because you're broken. So I think when you start feeling better physically, Soren, then the ambivalence sort of dries up if you already have established some passions. And I have a lot of wonderful passions, but you got to have energy to do them. And so that's a really good question. How do you push ahead in the face of ambivalence? It takes a lot of bravery, but my bravery is ephemeral at best. It's a fancy word. Okay, we're going to move on. Rocket Man is nervous about Christmas because he's going to be alone again, and you can only be so brave. Rocket Man, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. You don't have to be alone in life. You can be part of this community. I believe I know who Rocket Man is, and welcome. God bless you. Tiffany says, does anyone ever get tired of being brave? I'm weary of being a warrior. This superhero could use a lunch break. Then I look at my other arm, and we got Superman. So you're talking about being a superhero and having courage and bravery. And I look down at that, and I don't feel like Superman. Sometimes you got to fake it until you make it. Just because you went through a season of being superhero doesn't mean you're always going to be that. You might get sick. You might get re-traumatized. Life might just get out of balance, and bad stuff happens to people. So you really need to dig deep. Those of you who didn't see the Rocky movie Creed, I love it because it basically tells the story of PTSD. Is, the guy gets beat down, and he had all the symptoms of PTSD. But then you have to have the courage to face your demons. And most of our demons aren't as fierce as Drago's, the Russian son, who was even scarier than Drago. But it takes a lot of courage and superhero-ness to get where we want to go. It takes superhero-ness and fairy dust. Evoking Dalai Lama says she's got her superpowers back. I sort of felt that way, like I've had my therapeutic powers back today, and it was on autopilot, and it's like sometimes when you have a gift and you just get out of the way, it happens, and that's been really special and really wonderful today for me. Emily says, there are so many people who have been touched by my story or didn't know anything about my story and couldn't understand where the kindness came from. These gifts are from this mess. So what are the gifts that came from your shattering? I'm backing up here. Tiffany says the complex PTSD, exhausted, traumatized part of me and wants to stop and get off the planet. The complex PTSD, exhausted, traumatized part of me wants to stop and get off the planet. I'm at war with myself. There's no good way to stop and get off the planet. I have one more late client from California, and I'm going to tell him I'm running a bit late. They're not surprised when I'm late. I am late quite a bit. I'll be back to you in just a sec. Okay. Denise says, hanging by a thread, literally. I'm so glad I found this group tonight. I feel like I'm crumbling, but grateful to be with people who understand. Hey, we've all been there. I've crumbled and I'm crumbling again. But it does take a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to have recovery. Ocean Sound 10, can we just lick our wounds and like our wounds and then just start working on the positive? Because where did it go? Because I'm sorry, it bumped ahead and I missed where I was at. Oh, there it is. Can we just lick our wounds and like our wounds and just start working on the positive? Because if we keep babysitting our wounds, how will we be free? Let be the courage we have. I think you can sometimes focus on the positive so much that you don't focus on the genuine. You know, feel what you feel, whether it's positive or whether it's not positive. These complex PTS wounds, they're not wounds that you're babysitting. They're wounds that sort of have you hostage, but you're not babying yourself. But yeah, use the courage you have. Cami says, some days I feel so broken. The pain wears me out. It's always with me, even when I sleep. And it keeps me so occupied. I need all the time I can get to be alone. I hear that. I understand that. Sarah says, the only one tough enough to kick my ass is myself. Annie needs to go. She says, thanks all for the many kindnesses. And she's out for the evening. Cami said that her brother did stop and got off the planet. That's very sad. Rocket Man, I think from Ocean Sound, you have a point, but after a shattering from recent trauma, it almost killed me. Oh, this is Rocket Man talking to Ocean Sound. I'm not licking my wounds. I'm trying to stand up. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Rocket Man, that if we could just lick our wounds and stand up and kick ass, we wouldn't need this support group, and we wouldn't need videos on PTSD. You could watch the video once and you have it figured out, and it's a slow process. Emily says, I see people, I see unseen people. I care about people not because of politics or media tell me to. I've cried for other children as a child. I'm also really smart and a highly creative writer. Cool. Cool. I shot ahead too far. Jackie said, I hope Kate Nadine is okay. How long has it been since we've heard from Kate Nadine? I hope she is okay. Sarah says it'll take a nutty village to deal with us. Cami says we're still here because we have missions still to complete. I'm heading into an age where being a grandparent isn't too far away. My son's 28 and he's getting married in next November, so there might be a kiddo in the next 3 years. And I just don't know what it would look like. But I'm intrigued with that dynamic, what that would be like. Okay. We have missions. That's where I was going with that. Part of why I want to stay on the planet is I want to meet my grandchildren and I want to connect with them and I want to, be a healing agent in their life and a protective agent in their lives. Dave says, I have to go to sleep. Good night. I love y'all, amazing PTSD partners. God bless. Thank you, Dave. Jen says, keep fighting for your life, Tiffany. You have purpose and you would be missed. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious says, thank you for your vulnerability and kindness, everyone. Everybody's sort of checking out here. Jen says, authenticity is the key to healing. Working on the pain leads to freedom from pain. That's good feedback, Jen Clark. Lisa Marie, type 1 diabetes since age 4. I'm now 48, pretty tired, and the complex PTSD doesn't help. Fatigued, hostage, yes, days where I'm just doing everything to keep myself alive. Rocket Man says, I'm similar to you, I think. Thank you for sharing this insight. I don't know exactly how to get back to that man before creativity was snuffed out. I'm working on it too, Rocket Man. Working on recapturing that creativity that's such a joy. Kimberly says that she thinks I'm going to be an awesome grandfather. You fall in love with them at first sight. I know I fell in love with my children the second they were born. They popped out and it just boom, it was like your heart. Emily says to Rocket Man, things have happened very slowly for me. So if you feel weird about that, just know that at least one other person on the planet hasn't had overnight success. Make that 2 people. I've been working on my recovery from complex PTSD for 3 3/4 years. And you know, the pain can come back and can be surprisingly debilitating. Soren says Steve Jobs didn't create the iPhone until he was 53, and he was fired multiple times. We have time. We have time. Well, Kimberly, there's no such thing as an overnight success with complex PTSD. So listen, I've got my couple in Los Angeles who are waiting for me that I need to get to. And then I need to go home and put myself in bed, get myself some sleep. God bless you guys. I think we had some magic here in the show. We had some laughter, and we had some vulnerability. We had the magic wand. And we had a lot of love shared and a lot of support shared. And I know what this group means to me, and I know what it means to you. Somebody said something funny up here. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for your time and journey. Power on, Marky Mark, says Sour. Power on, Marky Mark. Jane, this is such a blessing to be a parent and a possible grandparent in the near future. I don't have children, but I do have some kids in my life. Love your show, Mark. Stay strong. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Lisa Marie. God bless you. Marky Mark. So, Rocket Man says there is a very positive vibe in this group. Thank you, Mark, and good night. Sweet Pea's going to go watch Benji. So, God bless y'all. Welcome to all the new people. Jerry Wise will be facilitated by my lovely wife, Renda Smith, in 2 weeks on December the 11th. And I'll see you in the new year and probably see some videos made by me before then. God bless you, folks. Good night.